This will be the first one of many, well, of a few anyway, tutorials that explain the new system. If you're wondering who this is my dog Waffle, and that's my cat Wilson. So the first thing I'm going to show really has more to do with the back end and sort of warehouse administrative side of things, which is purchase orders and just the new purchase order template, which will be good for any new staff as well. So the way it works when we're essentially placing an order, two things need to happen. First of all, we have to be looking at the invoice, the original invoice. So in this circumstance, we will just go to Lane Cove and we'll open up a new invoice. Now, I'm on a Mac, so it'll be a little different, but most things are the same. Okay, so we'll just say this is a new order, and everybody knows how to fill this in anyway, but it's all very self-explanatory. But we're looking at purchase orders at the moment, so we'll just put in something that we would have to order in, custom order. So we get the Mr. Hyde plate mount mixer set, and we're just going to order one of those. The salesperson, of course, goes through this process, and after the order's placed, doesn't really need to action anything, but from that point on, more things need to happen, and the order needs to be placed. Now, of course, the salesperson would, at this point, remove the formulas, but we'll go through that later on in the invoice tutorial. Again, we're just focusing on the purchase order. So going back to purchase orders folder, which can be found in Google Drive. If you're set up properly, you'll have shortcuts. Otherwise, it's a Google Drive purchase orders. I have a shortcut here. So the next purchase order is purchase order 5701. So we open this. Now, what's changed mostly on this is this information. So, as I say, a few things need to happen. First of all, we need to fill in the supplier name, which in this circumstance is Parker Janssen. The purchase order number we're using, just like an order or an invoice or anything else, is the next number. Purchase order 5701. We'll use today's date, the 28th of the 1st in 2015. I'll just put my initials here. As the salesperson. So again, we just punch that same code in. You can copy and paste, or you can grab it. Now what we're going to get here is the supplier code for this particular product. There's an open handle version and a solid handle version. So I'm going to copy and then I'm going to paste special and paste just in the values, so I can delete the one that I don't want. I'm not going to order the open handle one in this time around. And also get rid of the rest of the formulas if I don't want to order anything else. I'm ordering one. Any notes I might want. I might like to make a particular note that it is an open handle, or perhaps a colour. But in this situation, no additional notes are required. And many things could be entered there. Required time, anything you really need to communicate to the supplier. This is the only part from here, from B to D, that goes to the supplier. The rest of it is internal, as is suggested by the orange or whatever colour that is, boxes down there. So we've now got ACS invoice in here. We did have that before, but I have moved its position. This invoice, the next invoice up here, would have been 804637, which would go here. So here we'll have the same 804637. The date, now this here is all that's required upon the ordering time. This, from this point on, is where, or is when items arrive, and then when they get received in by the warehouse staff. So the date is the date it comes in. So that one item. If we were ordering 3, which, So let's say the invoice was 3 and we're ordering 3. You'll see that the items remaining is 3. So 3 on order, 3 remaining to arrive. So if it so happened that on the 15th of February we received 1 in, that would mean 2 remain on back order. And I've given another opportunity here, so I've allowed a second opportunity for another one or 2, say, to be received in. If 1 was originally received and 2 came in later, and the remaining is now 0. It's quite rare that we get those over 2 pieces, or over 2 deliveries with something like that, but it does occur. But usually no more than 2. If it is more than 2, we can add to this. So going back to the original scenario of 1 and 1, when it arrives, the staff in the warehouse enter the date of receipt, how many. The supplier invoice is a new thing. We haven't had this previously. It's very important to have this when we're doing service calls or credit claims. So the supplier always asks for the invoice, and previously we've only been able to really access that through going back to the original hard copy. This is a good thing going forward. It's easy to search. We can search that number and via Google Drive, and we will get that information up immediately. And then the staff member who's entering it in this circumstance, initials is fine here. Okay, so I sort of skipped ahead there to when we would receive it in. In the creation of the purchase order, deleting this information, when we were back at this point, from here you do need to save it in the purchase order folder with the name of the company. You also need to either print it to PDF or save as PDF. Place it in. I have a PDF folder specifically, but you may use your desktop on a PC, and of course from there you'll attach it to the particular supplier and place the order for whoever's doing the ordering. At present, that is of course me most of the time, but I'm sure there'll be more people doing it going forward. So that's the new purchase order system. This is the new information that you get, that's going to be available, which is good. It is important, and of course you need to go to the next template and update the next. Once it arrives and is processed in, it does get filed away. As part of this tutorial, actually, I think it's useful for me to show you what happens when that does occur. So today I have been sent the goods received for today, and they'll come through from suppliers in different ways. This is unfortunately a fairly poor scan, but I've got the supplier codes here. So the warehouse staff will enter them, or will receive them in like this. We'll get the codes, the quantities, and the relating invoice number, and we can just make out PO 5679. So in this particular circumstance, we will have a look at PO 5679. Now this is the older format, but just to explain how this works, you can see how this correlates. You've got our reference numbers crossed over here and the supplier reference numbers here, which match these here. So this all needs to match and needs to be checked. Ordered, received, 1 and 1, and invoice, the correlating invoice. So once checked and once received in like this, and that'll be tagged at the warehouse. And once that's been checked by the appropriate person, who at this point in time is me, once that is checked, then the final step is for that purchase order to be filed into completed. Okay, so those are the steps in the purchase order, and those are the new additions to new purchase order system.